We've got ones that can see, and I can assure you, if you can see through the left-right paradigm, then you are certainly one who can see. I've talked about Donald Trump and the acquisition of Greenland and the acquisition of making Canada the 51st state and how this is all part of the New World Order's blueprint. Well, today they announced the red, white, and Blueland as the Republican Party has unveiled a bill to rename Greenland to Blueland and to acquire Greenland as a part of the North America Union. MAGA and the alt-right media have all of these conservatives completely blind and led astray by what exactly the New World Order's blueprint calls for. It calls for 10 kingdoms. This has been part of the plan for a long time. And within a week of Donald Trump going into power, as you could see from the image on your screen that was created, right? Your cart, Canada, Greenland, the Panama Canal. We even see Google now renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Donald Trump tweeted out a picture of the North American Union saying, "Oh, Canada." And of course, his followers who believe that they are awake, that they've been red-pilled, well, they've been red-pilled, they've been blue-pilled, they've been pilled to sleep because they might as well have taken Z-Quil. If they think that Donald Trump isn't a part of this New World Order, they are sound asleep. And the map for the North American Union goes back to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, and technocracy. We've seen this map many times over. The first variation of this map came from Maurice Gomberg. You could tell by the name that Maurice enjoys a good amount of bagels. Published in 1942, this was an outline of the post-war New World Order. It was a proposal to rearrange the world after an Allied victory against the Axis forces. You can even see a Wikipedia has this posted as the outline of the post-war New World map. And this was a map completed before the attack on Pearl Harbor and self-published on February 25th, 1942 by Maurice Gomberg of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It shows a proposed political division of the world after World War II in the event of an Allied victory in which the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union, as well as the Republic of China, would rule. The map includes a manifesto describing a, quote, New World Moral Order, which is really, take the word moral out, and you have New World Order. And of course, Gomberg is he's a Russian, you know what. Might as well just say Bolshevik. And he was creating this map, of course, as a personal project. That's what they tell you, that this map came from a personal project. And the map has been highlighted by New World Order conspiracy theorists who believe it represents some broader view of the U.S. government. And of course, they like to tell us that it's a conspiracy theory, right? Most recently, this map was actually seen in Oppenheimer. In one of the scenes in Oppenheimer, which of course likes to promote the theory, and I repeat, the theory that we have an atomic bomb. A lot of people, of course, believe the footage shown of the atomic bomb was fictional footage, and we haven't seen an atomic bomb since we've seen that footage that was released, kind of like we haven't seen anybody go to the moon since they released that bogus footage. So, of course, people are skeptical about the Manhattan Project and an atomic bomb. You're allowed to believe what you want, but in that film, they specifically show this map right on the table, as you could see, Illuminati shill Robert Downey Jr., who I've exposed many times in the past. This same map, a similar variation, is featured in the Club of Rome. It is called the Regionalized Adaptive Model for the Global World System. And you could see right there in green, the North American Union, where the US, Canada, and Greenland are merged as one. In that variation, Mexico is actually a part of the South American Union. And then in technocracy, right? Technocracy and the social design. They have their own map, the Technet of America, where you can see the same exact thing. And it's not a surprise that the technocracy movement, which is a movement that would give the government control of society or industry by an elite of technical experts, that science would be the rule of the land. And of course, we all know the story of Joshua Norman Halleman, who was one of the faces of technocracy, who happens to coincidentally be the grandfather of Elon Musk, who continually tweets out and talks about making the Mars technocracy real, accelerating Starship development to build the Martian technocracy, right? And of course, if you know about how they fake their landings and their visuals that they give us from Mars, they do it on Devon Island, which is up there in the Arctic, which would be part of the acquisition of Canada and Greenland. It would make it really easy to dupe people into thinking we've gone to Mars when they use the actual land that is used currently by NASA to show us fake photos of Mars. So this is the guy, the congressman, you can see his Masonic shake, who has now gotten the bill written up. A GOP congressman has announced new legislation to bolster Donald Trump's efforts to take over Greenland, while also giving the autonomous Danish territory a new name: Red, White, and Blueland. You can't make it up how ridiculous it is. It's almost like what I was saying recently about how they put freedom in front of everything, right? They could literally put you in a prison cell and say, well, it's a freedom cell. And these lunatics who are all about America and claim to be patriots would think they were free. It's the smart city versus the freedom city, right? Well, take Greenland and call it the Red, White, and Blueland. And they're like, that's cool. That's neat. This isn't a part of the New World Order plan because they named it Red, White, and Blueland. It has to do with America, right? America, who is now the hub of the New World Order, thanks in part to Donald Trump, making us numero uno in AI infrastructure and AI governance for the World Economic Forum. Thumbs up, right? So the president has recently escalated calls to purchase Greenland for national security purposes, despite Denmark insisting the Arctic island is not for sale. On Tuesday, Georgia Representative Buddy Carter unveiled the Red, White, and Blueland Act of 2025 to apparently help America's negotiation in chief acquire the region. Giving a 6-month deadline, the proposed bill would direct the Secretary of the Interior team to ensure federal paperwork gets updated to the Stars and Stripes inspired new name. Quote, America is back and will soon be bigger than ever with the addition of Red, White, and Blueland, said in a statement to the New York Post. President Trump has correctly identified the purchase of what is now Greenland as a national security priority, and we will proudly welcome its people to join the freest nation to ever exist when our negotiator-in-chief inks this monumental deal. The legislation would first have to be assigned to a committee for study before it is decided whether the bill is passed on to the lower chamber to vote on. Do you see all the deception in the wording there? Because this is how this psychosis works that we're in. You could point out to MAGA, you could point out to all these conservatives what the New World Order blueprint is. If you attach Joe Biden to it, they'd be listening. If this was going on when Joe Biden was president and we were all discussing, hey, the Club of Rome, right? The Bilderbergs, the map of the post-war New World Moral Order, the Council of Foreign Relationships, North American Union, the technocracy map. If we pointed it out to them with Biden or Obama in charge, they'd be on board. They'd be saying, oh my goodness, they're bringing in the New World Order. We must stop them. But you see, this is why it's working so well. Because they drove everybody nuts with all the Democrat ideologies by design. They put Trump in power. He's bringing in the AI governance infrastructure. He's literally bringing in the North American Union, which has been part of the plan going back to World War II and the 10 Kingdoms. And then when we talk about a psychosis, this is all you have to do. All you have to say is that Greenland needs to be purchased for security purposes. You call it Red, White, and Blueland. You say things like America is back and will be bigger than ever. And that's all these people hear. We're going to be bigger than ever. We're going to get their resources. We're going to get Canada's. We're going to become bigger than China. We're going to become bigger than Russia. They don't realize that this is part of the plan and they refuse to see it because they don't want to see it. It's almost like they enjoy the psychosis that they're in right now. They enjoy it because all of a sudden they don't have to hear about men playing women's sports. That's all it takes. So when you show them this, they should be going, wait a minute, whoa, okay. On day one, Donald Trump talked about what? He talked about putting in AI infrastructure and curing cancer with an mRNA shot, right? On day one. And then what happened right after that? On day two, he continued to talk about Canada. Well, he was doing it before he was inaugurated, but talking about Canada being brought in as the 51st state. And on day two, he talked about going to Greenland, going there, sending his son to Greenland, sending the alt-right media parasites to Greenland to take pictures, whether it was a green screen or not, doesn't make a difference because the people who see it believe that they're there, rile them up into thinking we're just going to take their land. What's Greenland? It's peasants, but they have nice resources that we could take to make our gas cheaper, make our electricity cheaper. So why not just take it, right? And all of a sudden these people don't see clearly anymore because they're in a psychosis. And that's how this entire thing works. So this map is a map that we can look at and we can say, well, Council on Foreign Relations have a North American Union map. The Club of Rome has the regionalized and adaptive model of the global world system. Of course, you have Maurice Goldberg's 1942 map that's literally called the New World Moral Order that came out during World War II. This came out before the attack on Pearl Harbor, which was even featured in Oppenheimer. They show it on a desk while they're supposedly plotting all the things that they're plotting is, again, keeping people in a psychosis about the Manhattan Project and about atomic bombs in general, which has always been one of those things that should be debated. I've talked about it before. People say, you're out of your mind to think that atomic bombs don't exist because they've seen footage of an atomic bomb, but they never wondered why the camera recording it didn't explode or some of the other objects around it didn't melt from the explosion, right? But we haven't seen it since. We've only been told of the threat of the atomic bomb, haven't we? We've only been told that, oh, they're going to use the atomic bomb on you. You better be scared. You better live in fear. You better follow orders, right? That's all we've heard for the last 80 years or so without ever actually seeing one take place. And you could say, well, what about certain places like Hiroshima? What about this location? Well, what about going to the moon? They show us this stuff and we're supposed to believe it, right? So when they put movies like that out there and tell you that they're nonfiction, that these are factual films, that's part of the psychosis. You get people who even think they're awake believing in an alternate reality. How many people who believe that they're awake are in and sucked into the psychosis of MAGA? A lot of people. How many of those same people think that we've been to the moon and that we're cheer when these guys talk about going to Mars and Space Force? The majority of them do. The majority of them think we've been to the moon. The majority of them don't think that they fake going to space because it's one of these things that's sentimental to them. Oh, I grew up and saw it on TV and it meant so much to me as a kid. They refuse to believe that they would make that stuff up. Yet they call everything else, oh, that's fake, or oh, that's a psyop, oh, that's a false flag. Only when it fits into their narrative that they want to believe it. Instead of saying, hey, you know what? This entire thing is a simulation. All the stuff that they feed us, the reason for wars, how many people die in these events, who dies, who's the shooter, who's responsible. It's all part of the psyop that we live in, right? Telling us that atomic bombs and these things, well, maybe they do exist, maybe they don't exist, but why would we take their word for anything that they tell us? Because we look into television like what they're showing us is factual, and they could fake and manipulate all the things that they show us on TV, and we see it every single day now. From the shootings at schools to the 11th day of September, where some people might have thought that they saw this or saw that, but anybody with eyes to see and ears to hear saw a controlled demolition take place. And most of us remember Building 7, while the majority of the other people don't even know it existed, or those people who are dancing on rooftops that nobody else seems to know about either, who you can't discuss. So, back to what I was saying here, the proof has been in the pudding for a long time, so to speak, when it comes to the North American Union. We heard, obviously, George Bush, when he was in power after the 11th day of September, talked about a North American Union or a union between America and Mexico. This is a lot bigger than that, because this is literally them, for no reason whatsoever, just all of a sudden saying we need to acquire Greenland, right? And I mentioned Donald Trump had said it in 2016. He said it passively. Now he's aggressive about it because they were desensitizing people to it. But a lot of people forgot that he had said it because they thought it was a joke, just like Canada being the 51st state. And the more they keep saying it, the more the people are accepting of that actually happening without saying, why in the world would we all of a sudden acquire Greenland? And why is there all of these maps out there that the globalists have at the Bilderberg meetings, at the Council of Foreign Relations, at even technocracy, the Club of Rome. They're the ones who seem to want America to be aligned with Canada and Greenland as one kingdom. They're the ones who seem to want to narrow this down to 10 specific regions, right? So why would we be doing that all of a sudden for them if Donald Trump is so anti-globalism? Oh, it must be a coincidence, right? Trump's not doing it to carry out the globalist plan. He's doing it because he sees resources in Greenland all of a sudden and thinks it'll make life easier for all of us. I mean, these people are believing what they want to believe. The facts are right in front of all of us to see and to absorb it. And really, it comes down to people with eyes to see and ears to hear. Most of these people are willfully blind. They are being presented this evidence from day one of Trump being inaugurated to going back to the fake assassination, right? You go back to that and you say, how in the world did these people not wake up then? The day that that occurred, and those videos are on the website, they've been scrubbed, of course, because the channel's been scrubbed. The day that that happened, I did a video that night. And the first thing I said, an hour after that occurred, not only that it was fake, which we all could see, was I showed the footage of how he stood up on that stage and pumped his fist. And I said that night, that image is going to be forever ingrained, that he had to pose for that picture, for that time, say fight, 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 because it would be a rallying cry to bring people into the psychosis deeper than they've ever been before. And what do we see since then? People wearing it on shirts. People are in hysteria over Trump. People refuse to believe that the government would fake carry out something like that to create a martyr to garner more support for Donald Trump. And it made the psychosis worse than ever before. I mean, some of the videos I covered even showed you how the Secret Service were prepping to make sure that the cameraman got that shot and how important that shot was, that Donald Trump knew where to go to get a clean shot. The cameraman would be right in the perfect shot. He wouldn't be afraid that he might get shot by a bullet. He's standing there making sure he gets that picture that he needs to get. Of course, the cameraman was connected to all other events that we know of that the government was involved in, and they happened to put him there from the New York Times. So it was completely staged, and that should have been something that woke him up, and it didn't. So then we look at day one. We even look at the inauguration with the hand on the Bible, how Donald Trump actually did the ritual, the inauguration, which took place under the apotheosis of Washington, that fellow Freemason of Donald Trump. Day one, we're going to bring in AI governance, the one thing that the New World Order and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations talk about every single time they have one of these meetings. That is the number one thing. AI governance. How are we going to go forward with AI governance? How are other governments going to participate? How are we going to make sure the infrastructure is in place in all these third world countries? That's all they talk about. Trump on day one. We're going to put it in immediately, and we're going to be the capital of artificial intelligence. And these people don't even blink at that, right? Because he's too busy telling them that men are going to play men's sports, women are going to play women's sports. Hey, right? While he's telling you that he's going to carry out the North American Union plan in under a month's period of time. People need to wake up. We now have what is being called the red, white, and Blueland. And I can guarantee you the alt-right media, the Benny Johnsons, these shills will eat this up, and so will their followers. I love it. Blueland. Red, white, and Blueland, bro. Let's get an American flag tattooed on our shoulder. Yeah. Pride, American pride. We're going to be bigger and better than ever. Well, sounds like they're building back better, all right. Just got to imagine, if this was flipped and this was happening under Biden, would these people actually see it? I think so. I don't think they'd be stumbling upon our channels, people like you and me, saying that you guys are Democrats. You guys don't get it. This is part of the plan. He's carrying they'd be saying, whoa, AI governance? Whoa. If Biden was the one who had the assassination attempt on him, they'd be calling it a false flag and a psyop. Whoa, what? The North American Union? They'd be looking at all these things with clear vision, but they don't have clear vision because they're in a psychosis. So you can't make this up because it's comical. You know, when I saw it, I was like, they're not really going to name the bill the red, white, and blue. It must just be the headline for the article to get clicks, right? No, that's what it's called. The red, white, and Blueland, to rename Greenland into Blueland. How unbelievable can it get? These people eat that type of stuff up because they are under a very, very deep psychosis. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you and your families as always.